Part 1. The door that shouldn't exist. I never believed those dumb urban legends about our school. Every year, the freshmen whispered about the sealed room on the third floor of the old West Wing, the part that's been closed off since the fire in 1998. They say a girl died there, locked in during detention, burned alive while screaming for help. Classic teenage ghost story stuff. But I'm not a freshman. I'm a senior. I thought I was above it all. That changed last Thursday. It started when I stayed late after school for yearbook committee. Everyone else had gone home. The halls were quiet. The sun had dipped low, and the janitors were just starting their rounds. I was heading down the back stairs when I heard it. My name, whispered, from behind a door that shouldn't be there. It was faint, but distinct. Ava. I froze. The old West Wing is supposed to be sealed. The entrance at the end of the hall is chained shut and covered in caution tape. But now, a heavy green door stood in the middle of the hallway, one I'd never seen before. It didn't match the building's layout. No windows. No classroom number. Just a brass handle, worn with age, and a keyhole that looked almost melted. I inched closer. There it was again. Ava, come in. I know what you're thinking. I should have run. Called someone. Gotten a teacher. But something about the voice, about the way it said my name, it didn't feel dangerous. It felt familiar. I reached for the handle. Locked. I pressed my ear to the door. Silence. But I swear the wood felt warm, like it was holding breath on the other side. I knocked once. Then again. No answer. The door had no hinges on this side. No room number. It wasn't even flush with the floor. It hovered just slightly above the tile, and a thin line of dark air shimmered at the base. That's the only way I can describe it, shimmered. Like heat rising off asphalt. I stepped back, heart pounding. Suddenly, the hallway lights flickered. A second later, they went out. I stood in total darkness, the only light coming from under the strange door, now pulsing, slow and red, like a heartbeat. And then, the doorknob turned. On its own. It didn't open. Just a slow, deliberate click, like something wanted me to know it could open. That it wanted to. Then, nothing. The light snapped back on, and the door was gone. Gone. As if it had never been there. Just blank hallway, pale green lockers, and dust. I ran. I didn't tell anyone. Not my parents. Not my best friend, Casey. Not even Mr. Brody, the janitor who always chats with me about football. I knew how it sounded. Like stress. Or a prank. But the next night, I heard the voice again. This time, from my bedroom closet. Part 2, Whispers in the Dark. The voice said my name again. From the closet this time. I didn't scream, though I should have. I just froze, still in bed, one hand gripping my phone under the covers. I stared at the closet door. It was slightly ajar. Just enough for the dark to breathe through. Ava, don't forget me. My heart hammered in my ears. I wanted to think I was dreaming. That the stress of school, senior year, everything, it was just getting to me. But I wasn't dreaming. I was awake. I had just set my phone down after scrolling Instagram. I was wide awake. The voice wasn't mine. It wasn't my mom's. It wasn't anyone I recognized, and yet, something about it still pulled at me. Like a half-remembered melody from childhood. Like a secret I once knew and had buried deep. I finally moved. I got up, grabbed a flashlight from my nightstand drawer, and slowly crept toward the closet. Nothing. Just clothes, boxes, old yearbooks. I pushed them aside, searched every inch. The air was cold inside, much colder than the rest of the room. And then I saw it. Taped to the inside of the closet door, near the top corner, was a photo I'd never seen before. It was a school portrait, like one of those from yearbook day. A girl about my age, with jet black hair and sharp blue eyes, staring straight ahead without smiling. The background was the same grayish-blue color they used at my school. But it wasn't me, and it wasn't anyone I knew. On the back, in faded pen, Room 311. Don't forget. There is no Room 311 at my school. At least, not on any map I've seen. The highest numbered room in the West Wing is 310, and that part's sealed off. The next morning, I asked around. Casually. Quietly. Hey, Casey, you ever heard of Room 311? She raised an eyebrow. You mean the fire room? No, that's 309, right? She shook her head. Not exactly. That whole end got kinda merged in reports. Some say the fire started in 311, some say 308. The school never clarified. Does Room 311 still exist? She leaned in. You didn't hear this from me, but Brody, the janitor, he says there's still a door. Hidden behind a fake panel. Locked from the inside. I felt chills run down my arms. You okay, Ava? Yeah, I lied. That night, it happened again. I woke up around 2:47 a.m., drenched in sweat. My room was pitch dark, no glow from the hallway light, no blinking red from my power strip. Complete blackness and silence, like someone had pressed pause on the world. Then, from under my bed, you left me behind. This time, I did scream. I jumped out of bed and turned on the flashlight app on my phone. Nothing there. No one. But the floor under my bed was wet. Just a small puddle, right where I had been sleeping above. And the water smelled like old smoke. Ash and mildew, like something had burned and been left to rot. I cleaned it up without telling anyone. What would I say? That a ghost was weeping beneath me? That a voice from a missing classroom knew my name? At school the next day, I could barely concentrate. Every time I passed a hallway mirror or glass case, I felt like I was being watched. Not seen, watched. Studied. Mr. Brody was cleaning near the West Wing when I caught him alone. Hey, Mr. Brody, I started. Can I ask you something weird? He chuckled. You kids ask weird things all the time. Try me. What's behind the boarded section on the third floor? He stopped wiping the window. That's not something you need to be poking around. Ava, you know my name? He looked at me for a long moment. You told me last year. Don't you remember? I didn't. I fumbled. I think there's a room. One that's not on the maps. Room 311. He glanced down the hallway, lowered his voice. You heard it, didn't you? I froze. Heard what? That voice, he said. It only calls to the ones who are close. Those who remind her of who she was. That room, it's still in there. Still burning, in a way. I wanted to ask what he meant, but he started walking away. Don't go looking for it, Ava, he called back over his shoulder. She remembers everything, especially who didn't help her. That night, I dreamed I was standing outside the green door again. Only this time, it opened. And what was inside wasn't fire. It was a girl, with black hair and bright blue eyes, standing in a room that smelled like burned paper and scorched wood. She smiled, but her teeth were charred black. I'm ready to come out now, she said. And behind her, dozens of hands clawed at the walls, all of them reaching toward the door. Part 3, her side of the mirror. I woke up with dried blood under my nose. I don't remember falling asleep. 1 second, I was staring at my ceiling, replaying the dream again and again, and the next, it was morning. My phone was dead, though I'd charged it the night before. My window was wide open, even though I never touch it. And there were ash marks on my carpet. Little black smudges, as if someone had walked through a burned forest and tracked it in. My mom didn't notice. She just said I looked pale. I told her I had cramps. She left me alone. At school, I started seeing her. Not directly, just flashes in glass, hallway windows, trophy cases, the backs of computer screens. A girl with jet black hair and eyes too bright, too fixed. She never moved. She just watched. Once, during homeroom, I turned my head and saw her reflection in the window beside me, not facing outward like everyone else's. She was turned inward, looking directly at me. I gasped and spun around. No one was there. Casey noticed. You look like you've seen a ghost, she said, trying to laugh. I think. Maybe I have. She tilted her head. Is this about room 311 again? I nodded. I've seen it, I whispered. Twice now. The door. Her face went pale. I didn't want to tell you this, she said slowly, but last night I heard someone say your name outside my house. I thought it was a prank. It sounded like you, Ava, but slower, echoey, like you were calling from underwater. I begged Casey not to tell anyone, and she didn't. But something shifted after that. She started walking further ahead of me in the halls, texting less, avoiding eye contact. That Friday, we were both called to the front office. The secretary handed me a plain white envelope. There was a note for you, she said. Found it in the old wing. I opened it. Inside was a single index card. On it, in red ink. Saturday, 3 p.m. Come alone. Room 311. That was all. I looked at Casey. Her face was blank, but I could tell she got one too. She slid it into her pocket without reading it. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't try to warn Casey. Maybe part of me was too scared. Maybe another part didn't want to face it alone. When Saturday came, I lied to my mom and said I had yearbook layout duty. I arrived early, 2:45. The school was dead silent. I crept up the stairwell to the third floor, to the West Wing entrance. The tape was gone. So were the chains. The hallway beyond was clean, lit, like nothing had ever been shut down at all. and at the very end stood the green door. I took a deep breath, stepped forward. Before I could touch it, the door opened on its own. Inside was pitch black. "Ava," the voice whispered. "Come home." Something pulled me forward. Not physically, it was like my brain stepped ahead before my body could protest. I crossed the threshold. The moment I stepped in, the door slammed shut behind me. I was inside room 311. The smell hit me first: smoke, mold, rotting wood, and something worse. Like burnt hair and sour milk. The walls were scorched, cracked open in places. Desks were fused together, twisted into strange shapes. A chalkboard hung sideways, covered in long scratches that almost looked like words. The girl was sitting on one of the melted desks, legs crossed. Same black hair. Same bright, unblinking eyes. "You're late," she said. "I don't know you," I managed to whisper. "Yes, you do." She hopped down, barefoot. Her skin was grayish, flaky, like it had once been burned and barely healed. "I used to be like you," she said. "Curious. Kind. Alone." She stepped closer. Her face didn't change, but her voice trembled with something I can't describe. Not sadness. Not anger. Just emptiness. "They locked me in here," she said. "Forgot about me. Let me die." I backed away. I wasn't even born. "You carry her guilt," she said sharply. "You look like her. Sound like her. Maybe you are her." That's when I noticed the mirror. It was the only thing in the room not warped by fire. A tall, perfect mirror against the far wall. And inside it, my reflection wasn't right. It moved a second slower than I did. And it smiled when I didn't. I stepped closer. The reflection didn't. It just stared at me. Mouth closed. Eyes wide. The girl stood behind me in the glass, but when I turned around, no one. Just me. And then, in the mirror, I saw something horrifying. My reflection was reaching into its own mouth, pulling something out. A key. I blinked. Suddenly, I was outside the room, back in the hallway. The green door shut behind me. I was holding something in my hand. A melted, brass key. It was warm, and it had my name carved into it. Part 4, The Other Ava. I kept the key in my backpack. I didn't tell anyone about it. Not Casey, not my mom, not even myself, really. I tried to pretend it was all a dream, that room 311 was just some weird hallucination brought on by sleep deprivation and ghost stories. But the truth wouldn't leave me alone. By Monday, I couldn't stop hearing my name. It came from vents, lockers, water fountains. A whisper just outside the edge of sound. Always the same voice. Not angry. Not sad. Just waiting. Casey avoided me entirely now. I caught her whispering with 2 other girls near the science wing. When she saw me watching, she quickly looked away. At home, things got worse. I started seeing my own reflection move differently. Not just in the mirror, but in everything: phone screens, windows, even spoons. Once, while brushing my teeth, I saw myself grin wide and sharp, even though my mouth hadn't moved. And then, I began to black out. Small gaps in time. 30 seconds here, 2 minutes there. I'd find myself standing in a hallway I hadn't entered, sitting at my desk with no memory of getting home. One morning I woke up in my backyard, barefoot, freezing, and with ash under my fingernails. The key was always in my hand when I returned. I finally broke down and confronted Mr. Brody. "Tell me the truth," I begged. "Who was she?" He looked at me, eyes heavy. Her name was Mara Jennings. She was a senior in 1998. Smart, quiet, kind. She got blamed for something she didn't do, setting fire to a classroom. Principal locked her in room 311 as punishment. "That's insane," I whispered. "You can't do that to someone." They said it was only for an hour, just to scare her. But they forgot. The fire started again later that day. My throat tightened. "She burned alive?" He nodded. "They said the fire came from the inside. No source. No wires. Just her." I felt cold all over. Why me? She's looking for someone to remember. Or to replace. That night, I dreamed again. I was standing in front of my bathroom mirror. The reflection was smiling. Not like before. Not passive. This was joyful. Then it spoke. "You're fading, Ava," she said. "You gave me the key." "No," I said. "I never." "You opened the door. You let me look through. Now I'm learning." The reflection reached up and touched the glass, and I felt cold fingers on my cheek. I woke up screaming. There were fingerprints on the mirror. I didn't go to school the next day. I said I was sick. My mom didn't ask questions. She was distracted with work, always on Zoom calls, always tired. I stayed in bed, curled up with the key in one hand and my phone in the other. At 2:11 p.m., I got a text from Casey. She said, "You're not you anymore." Then, 2 minutes later, "Don't come back to school." I tried to call her. No answer. That night, the whisper stopped. I thought it was over. But when I looked in the mirror, my reflection was gone. Just an empty room behind me. No bed. No light. No Ava. I staggered back, heart racing. Then, a knock on my window. I live on the second floor. I pulled the curtain aside and nearly screamed. It was me, standing outside. Hair wet. Eyes too bright. Holding up a hand, with the key. She mouthed the words, "Come back inside." I ran. Out the door. Down the stairs. Into the street. But no matter where I went, every reflective surface showed her, not me. She waved from car mirrors. Smiled from store windows. At one point, I passed a bus shelter, and she was sitting in the glass like a passenger, head tilted, staring right through me. I had no choice. I went back to the school that night. Everything inside felt hollow. The lights flickered, but stayed on. The air smelled like burnt books and old perfume. I climbed to the third floor. The green door was there again. But now, it was open. Inside, the classroom was empty. No desks. No chalkboard. Just mirrors, dozens of them. Standing, leaning, even hanging from the ceiling. And in each one, a different version of me. Crying. Screaming. Laughing. Some were on fire. Some were smiling wide with too many teeth. At the center stood a tall mirror, flawless and still. She stepped out of it. "Ava," she said gently. "It's time." "I'm not you," I said, backing away. "But I'm already inside you." She held up a finger, and I felt it inside my mind, like a nail scraping against the inside of my skull. "You dreamed of me before you met me," she whispered. "That's how it starts." The key in my hand burned. Not hot, not painful, just real. I looked down. It had started to melt. Into the shape of a handle. A door handle. One I knew. My bedroom door. Part 5, one of us has to stay. I ran. Back down the hall. Back through the stairwell. I don't remember how I got home, only that my feet moved faster than my thoughts. That my breath never seemed to fill my lungs. That the mirror version of me followed without footsteps. When I finally shut the front door behind me, I locked every bolt. It didn't matter. Because when I turned toward the hallway, my bedroom door was open. And the key, the warped, melting brass key, was glowing in my hand. The shape now matched the handle to my room exactly. I stepped forward. Inside, the lights were off. The room was silent. But in the mirror across from my bed, she stood, watching. "I've waited so long," she said, smiling. "Now we decide." "Decide what?" I asked, voice trembling. "Which one of us stays? And which one goes back?" "To where?" She tilted her head. "To the room. Where time doesn't move. Where the fire never stops." I shook my head. "No, I didn't agree to this. But you opened the door. You listened. You followed. You gave me the key." I clenched it in my hand, hard enough to hurt. "I didn't mean to. You were curious. That's all it ever takes." Behind her, the mirror shimmered. Not like glass, like water under tension. I saw flickers inside, a classroom twisted in flame, hands pressed to the walls, 100 reflections screaming behind glass. Each one wearing my face. She stepped closer. We were the same height, same hair, same eyes. But up close, I saw the differences. Hers were too perfect. Skin smooth like wax, eyes that never blinked, and a smile that felt carved from something old. "You don't belong here anymore," she said softly. "Let go." She held out her hand. I hesitated. And then, I ran. Not away, at her. I tackled her through the mirror. There was no impact. No glass. Just a rush of freezing air, like diving into dark water. And then silence. We were in the classroom again. Room 311. But this time, there was no exit. Just mirrors. And a door with no handle. She stood, brushing herself off. "Foolish," she said. "Now we're both trapped." "No," I said. "You are." I held up the key. It had changed again, now sharp, narrow, and silver. She lunged at me. I ran to one of the standing mirrors and shoved the key into a tiny crack I hadn't seen before. It fit. The mirror opened, light pouring through. On the other side, my bedroom. Empty. Waiting. She screamed, not with rage, but fear. "Don't leave me again." I turned back once. She wasn't a monster anymore. She looked like me. Just a girl, crying in the fire. I stepped through. I woke up in my bed. Morning light poured in. My heart pounded, My hand shook, but I was here. I was me. Everything looked normal. Except the mirror. My reflection was gone. For the next few days, nothing strange happened. The school sealed off the West Wing again. Casey texted once to say she was sorry for avoiding me. She said she had dreams about me burning, but they stopped. I didn't reply. I don't go near mirrors anymore. Not because I'm afraid of seeing her, but because I might see myself again. And I'm not sure I'd recognize who's who.